welcome to the actual episode 1, which I guess is technically episode 2 on your playlist, but it's actually episode 1. Okay, so I definitely want to start out by saying that I thank you all so very much for your support. My intro, which was technically episode 1, but we've already established not really, made me so happy because I was able to reach out to so many of you on so many different directories. So that was awesome. Very excited and very grateful and so excited. This is great that this is happening. Okay, so since this is the actual first episode, which is technically episode 2, but really 1, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so my name is Tracy. I'm a soldier. I'm 49 and a half, and I'm 106% single. And the reason I like to mention that I'm 106% single is just because that number I don't know, I just think it's funny. I like that number. 106 is obviously greater than 100. So I don't know, I just think it's funny. So as you know by now, if you listened to the first episode, which really wasn't the first one, but was the intro, you know that I'm divorced, and I've been divorced for over a year. My ex and I are still friends, and he actually helped me get this podcast started because it's a bit of a reboot, like I mentioned before. So after I recorded the intro, right, we've already established the technical one, but not really. I had a really hard time getting the audio together. So I lost some hearing in Iraq, and there's definitely frequencies that I no longer hear, and I'm okay with that. I'm a class 3. I could still deploy. Like I'm totally okay with that. I have no regrets. I'm actually getting fitted for my first hearing aids in the middle of June, so that's going to be kind of cool. It's going to be weird to be like, well, I can actually hear you without having to say what 100 times. But anyway, so when I was editing that last episode, I had a really hard time getting the audio together. So I decided to call my ex, and he's like busy working. He like loves his job, but he works a lot. He ended up answering the phone right away, and I was explaining my problems, and he was like, "Let me hear it." And then his first reaction was like, "Let me just edit." Let me just edit this for you, right? So sure enough, he went ahead and edited it because he tried explaining things that I just didn't understand. And, as I mentioned before, he produced the first one. So within 15 minutes, hate to say this, he sent me like the perfect audio cut within 15 minutes, and we decided to go with that. And it's on, I want to say 15 directories right now. I'm still waiting for approval for Apple to end up on iTunes and Google to end up somewhere else. But I'm definitely on Spotify. I'm very happy. iHeartRadio and among others, and it's really awesome. I'm on Audible too. Anyway, so the reason I bring up the audio and my ex and everything is because he was like, obviously you're having some trouble, hearing it, getting it together. I get it. He was like, I'll put the first 10 together for you. Like he was like, I'll do the first 10. I'll create like a video for you. So that way you actually have a clue of how to do it. So that way when we're done with the first 10, you have a clue of how to, take care of it yourself. So the reason I mention all that is because it kind of leads me to one of like my most interesting topics since I have been single. And that is that my ex and I are still friends. Now, don't get me wrong. Like he completely broke my heart, shattered my heart last February, as I mentioned before. But, within this time frame, we decided to, we can be friendly. I'm not saying that we're going to be best friends, and I'm not saying we're going to be best friends for like years to come. I do think that there's some natural attrition in most friendships and relationships, whether it's like friends or family or what have you. So my ex and I, as I mentioned before, we were a couple for 12 years, married for just under 10. But it's interesting because we don't have human children. We ended up just, fostering dogs through most of our, our relationship, our friendship. And he kept one, and I miss her terribly. But he sends me updates, with her. He let me see her recently when I went to Florida. I'm in New York, he's in Florida. So I went specifically to go visit her, to pick up some gear I had. I ended up going on a first date, which was one of my favorites. Number 43, I'll go ahead and share some info about him later. But my point is, like, even with COVID and everything and the Army relaxing some travel restrictions, I kept in touch with my ex, just to make sure Whiskey's okay. Whiskey Tango is the name of the dog that we adopted together. She's doing really well, and she's at an older age, and she's so healthy and so awesome. I love her so much. Anyway, so he takes really good care of her, so they're together in Florida. And I decided it was time to, go pick up some extra gear that I had. I have so much TA50. It's like unreal. Anyway, so I went ahead and, booked a flight. Asked him if there's any way, I could see her. And he was like, of course. So like he rearranged his work schedule a little bit. And then, sometimes the way work works out, he ended up having to work like super late, and he ended up having to drive like 2 hours to pick me up at the airport. It was pretty late. But it was awesome. He showed up with a 6-pack of beer. Obviously whiskey, some toys for her, some treats. I had some stuff for her. We caught up a little bit. It was really late. He had to go home so he could wake up early. We chatted throughout the next day. I had whiskey. We went to like a wonderful, wonderful dog beach in near Clearwater. Anyway, so we had so much fun. It was like one of the best reunions ever. Like I love that dog so much, and it was so great to see her again. And of course, she remembered me, so it was awesome. Anyway, so when it was time for me to end my trip, I asked him if there's any way he could take me to the airport. He was like, of course. Like, same thing. He had to wake up stupid early, which I definitely appreciate, though, because it's always like, for me, like when friends do favors for you, it's never like the actual monetary amount that you're saving. I mean, I wasn't that far from the airport, but it's like the principle. It's like, for me, principle is like a big deal. So because he needed to pick up whiskey anyway, right? But I went ahead and asked if, he could drop me off at the airport, and he was like, of course. He was like, I'll do it really early. That way you can have one last night with her. I ended up having 2 nights with her, and it was awesome. And then he was just like, you know what, I'll pick you up, whatever. So sure enough, stupid early, picked up whiskey. I miscommunicated. He had to drive in circles. But if you know me at all, that's like so me. Anyway, so we end up getting in the car. He loads all my luggage, all my extra TA50. He has coffee. It was nice, we chit-chatted, made it to the airport. Okay, hug you bye. It was awesome. Anyway, but since we only share dogs, and really only a dog, because Ike is really mine, I don't know. It's interesting. I do think with natural attrition, as I was starting to say before, since we don't have human children, we really don't have a need to continue to speak. So I think over time, our friendship will just kind of fade away. Like right now, I think he's like fucking awesome because he's helping me with the audio and with this podcast, and he's going to teach me how to do it. But aside from that, I do think it's interesting because I feel like being friends with an ex is a good thing. I mean, we've already had our forgiveness and our closure, though he really, didn't really need forgiveness or closure because, I'm fucking perfect, right? But, but I got my forgiveness and my closure. And I don't know, I feel like if there's a meme that I see that'll make him chuckle, I mean, not every single one fucking, of course, but if there's one in particular that I think that'll make him, chuckle, I'll text it. He does the same. I mean, we each thought we were hysterically funny, though, of course, we all know I'm like way funnier than him. But anyway, I don't know, stuff like that I think is normal. And then, I had some financial questions because when we were together, he took care of like all of that. So just like little things, I'll call and ask him about. And I feel like if he has the answer, I have the question, like, what's the harm? I don't know, but I think friendships with an ex, I think, could be good, right? But I also think that they could be a little challenging. So, of course, my next transition in conversation is going to be talking about one of my other favorite dates, which is number 27. So, oh my God, this man, gorgeous man, oh my God, so I have a type, which is pretty clear that I have a type, especially being single again for this last year. Those of you who know me already know it. Bodybuilder, CrossFit guy, tattoos, just like balls out, former infantry, just combat arms kind of guy. I know I'm like a walking stereotype. And oh my God. And if this guy has a beard, forget it. Oh my God, he's my type. Anyway, so this guy was my type, former Army guy, great shape, wonderful biceps and quads. Oh my God, my thing. Anyway, a little bit of a beard, not a huge beard, but some nice stubble, really cute guy. I don't know. So we met on an app. We chatted for a while, exchanged photos, a couple videos. We decided to meet. And the Army being the Army, one of my good buddies that I work with had to go out of town, and he has this wonderful dog. Love this little dog. And he needed somebody to take care of her for like a day or two. So the way that everything worked out, I had already agreed to let Ike go to daycare, which he loves. Like he loves daycare so much. He goes 3 days a week, and some days when I go pick him up, he's like, "Damn," you know. Anyway, I had already decided to let him hang out there for the weekend. And so I was dog free. I was going to go on my first date with number 27. I was like super excited because I said before the guy's like super cute and funny. And anyway, totally my type. So then my friend at the last minute was like, "Hey, can you watch her?" And I was like, "Of course." I mean, you know, you're in the army, like shit, you do almost anything for your buddies, right? And I was like, "Of course." So, you know, without hesitation, pick her up. She's a cute little dog. Oh my gosh, she's so cute. Long ears, love her. Anyway, so went ahead and picked her up. And then I mentioned to number 27, I was like, "Hey, so we already made plans to do A, B, and C. Still want to do all those, still looking forward to it, but I have this little dog with me, you know, for the weekend. And, you know, since she's not my dog, I don't want to board her. You know, she's my buddy's, you know, dog. You know, she's still basically a puppy. She's cute. I've hung out with her before. She's well behaved, but can she come out with us? Like, can she join us?" And without hesitation, he was like, "Yeah, bring her. I love dogs." So I want to share this with you, but he's going to know instantly I'm talking about him, I'm sure by now. Anyway, so he shows up, wonderful truck, leather interior, crazy expensive truck, beautiful, great shape. Like, you could tell he takes care of the truck, right? So I pick up Lola, you know, she's a little scared of him at first, you know, normal puppy kind of thing. Anyway, we get in the truck and we start on our date, right? A couple errands. We were going to like out of town together. Anyway, whatever. Like, you guys don't care about the details. Anyway, so this is what's funny though about the date. So he has this beautiful truck, right? Leather interior. And I'm like, "Okay, let's go ahead and, you know, head out to our date, right?" So I get Lola, get like a bottle of water, some treats, whatever, a couple toys for her, Ike's toys, whatever. And then I'm like, "Hey, you know what? Before we put her in the truck," I was like, "Ike has like a traveling blanket, right?" So I went ahead and took the blanket, I put it in the back seat. We're in the truck. This is awesome. He's like super cute. We're like laughing. This is going to be great. Beautiful day. I had some beautiful sunglasses on anyway, which of course I have since lost. But anyway, so I put the cute little puppy in the back with the blanket. She's like a puppy, so she's like high energy, but she like gets it. She's like, "Oh, you want me to sit on the blanket? Okay, cool." So she lays on the blanket. We go on our trips, a little bit of a drive. You know, we're chit-chatting, right? The guy's super cute, so I'm like totally staring at him the whole time. Anyway, I kept looking back at Lola, and Lola's asleep. I'm like, "Oh, she's so cute." Took photos of her, sent her to my buddy. Hey, life's awesome, right? Have a good weekend. Okay, so within, I don't know, 20, maybe 25 minutes, I look back, and she's playing with something. I'm not totally sure if it was like a leash or a toy or what, but she like scrambles in the bag and ends up scratching the fuck out of his like leather interior. And I'm like, "No." Anyway, so I didn't say anything at first because I didn't know what to say. I don't want to be a terrible person. The guy's really cute. So I kind of like adjust her with the blanket a little bit. And I'm trying to hide the scratch marks on the leather. Because, you know, it's a dog. So it's like wonderful leather. So it's not obvious, but you could see like the little scrapes, you know. And he's like, "Everything okay?" I'm like, yeah. So we stop. Everything's great. So we stop at a fast food place. I don't remember where it was or what we ordered. And he's like, "Let's get her something." I'm like, "Great." So we got her bacon or sausage or something. I don't know. Hamburger patty. I don't know. Anyway, so we give it to her. The date's great, whatever. So we go on with our date. And then we get to our destination. I open the door. And it's pretty fucking clear that there's like scratches all over it. So this guy looks at her and is instantly like, "No big deal. She's a puppy. Come on, let's go." So we ended up going out the rest of our date, and it was awesome. We had a couple more dates after that. But the reason I bring up that story and the reason I bring up number 27 is because I've already spoken about my ex, right? And I think it's kind of cool from my point of view that we were friends, right? And I think at some point we probably won't be, just with attrition. But this is where I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because, so as I said before, this guy, we went out, we had a great time. He was totally okay, you know, with my buddy's puppy scratching up the back of his truck. Totally okay with that. Super cute. Really loved hanging out with him. Like, you know, the next few times that I hung out with him and that first time. But like one day, he and I were at a bar, just like hanging out, just eating, right? Chit chatting, a beer or two. And he like casually mentions that, because he's divorced as well, and he has a child or two. And he mentions, I don't want to go into like incredible a lot of details, but anyway, so he mentions that he and his ex still share all of their money. And he mentioned it just casually in conversation. And, it's not my place or my business, like to tell people how to handle their money, or their family or whatever. But it stuck in the back of my head and I like couldn't let it go. And we just eventually just stopped, hanging out and chit-chatting with each other the whole bit. And I wish him well, and we're actually friends on social media, and I see him do cool stuff, and I'm like really happy for him. But I don't know how he felt about me, but for me, like once I realized that he was sharing all of his money with his ex, for me that was it. Like I couldn't let it go. So anyway, that was the end of that. But it's interesting to me, just the topic of being friends with an ex. Like I find it interesting, even though I'm a bit of a hypocrite, right? I don't know. I don't think it's a bad thing. And then I've also had conversations with like other friends and a couple of other dates actually that I have tried to form relationships with. A couple of them specifically voiced in their own words that they weren't okay with me being friends with my ex, like just in conversation, like there was never a fight or an argument or anything, but they're like, I'm just kind of not okay with it. And it's interesting because, as I said, I see all sides. I'm a little bit of a hypocrite with it because I'm like, it's me, so it's okay. But when my date mentioned that he shares his money with his ex, I was like, that's not okay. So I don't know. It just makes me wonder if there's just different percentages or levels or what have you about, what's okay for you and what's okay for like other people. I don't know. Just my mind. I don't know. I think... I don't know. I just think friendships with exes are interesting. I think everybody's perspective is pretty fucking fascinating to me. I love talking to people about different topics and subjects. And I don't know, the whole friendship, since I've been dating for a year is just interesting to me with the ex. And I don't know that I think forgiveness and closure is fascinating too, because some people I meet are completely like, you need to fucking like have closure and forgiveness. And I don't know, because sometimes hate's pretty fucking motivating. So I don't know. Anyway. So all of this to say, this is the first episode, and I just think it's an interesting topic of just, being friends with your ex. So I have not finished my website. I will very soon. I've actually started making some, headway on it. I love the Army with all of my heart. My specific job at the moment is a little challenging with the Army as far as like timing. We work a fucking lot, and we work a lot every fucking day. And, I'm still trying to work out, take care of Ike, the whole bit. So I will do my best to get my website complete. That way I can have a section on there for your comments and your, concerns and thoughts and specific like topics you want me to talk about. I do want to start to get into veterans issues and soldier issues and like important ones. The beard one to me is like hysterical because, we can wear a ponytail now. And my male counterparts cannot have beards yet, though I do think that is coming because I think our new SMA is just like a G. So I think it's definitely coming. Anyway, so when I get all of that together, or if you find me on a directory or a platform or social media or whatever, if you have any thoughts, questions, concerns about anything I have mentioned, literally anything, whether you like the podcast, don't like the podcast, think I'm funny, don't think I'm funny, which of course you would be wrong because I am fucking funny. Anything you want to mention, definitely feel free to let me know if you find me on a platform in the meantime or on social media. I do want to start to have unboxing specifically for veteran-owned businesses and companies. And the first one that I picked to talk about, that was technically not an unboxing because I bought the t-shirt a while ago and I've been wearing the fucking t-shirt all the fucking time. In fact, I actually wore the t-shirt on my most recent date, which was number 50. That's a whole nother interesting episode coming up. So it is a company that I like quite a bit. It's a veteran-owned company. The guy retired, I think it's 20 years, maybe just over 20 years. He started a company, when he retired, he moved. I've never met him, but he's cool as shit. And the name of the company is 30 Seconds Out. You can find them on the internet. They have their own website. Their Instagram page is actually pretty cute. The t-shirt that I picked, though, has like a mountain on it. And those of you who don't know, I love to climb. Doesn't mean I'm great. I mean, I've almost died quite a few times sliding off of various mountains all over the world, near Switzerland specifically, but that's a whole nother topic that we'll get into. Anyway, this t-shirt, though, is like super cool. I've worn it a million times. Like I said, I wore it on a first date. That may be a whole nother reason why I'm still fucking single, or 100% single, because I wear a fucking t-shirt on a date. Anyway, but this t-shirt's like really fucking cool. 30 Second Out is the name of the company. And on the t-shirt's the mountain, and it just has a phrase that just speaks to me on so many fucking levels. And the phrase is, expect to self-rescue. So, of course, if you're in the Army, in the military, something you're taught, right? Self-rescue. Like, you don't want to go somewhere and not be able to, like, save yourself. But I did baton recently virtually, completed the fucking 26.2. My feet were, like, jacked the fuck up. But I plotted that route specifically just so I could self-rescue. So I think it's just it's important. Like, you just have to be able to save yourself. Anyway, so 30 Second Out, t-shirt. I think they might have other things but t-shirts, but I'm like a huge t-shirt fan. So please, when you get time, look for them on the internet, Instagram, whatever. The t-shirt I've worn several times. And as I said, even on a first date, washes really well, dries really well, super cute, super comfortable. If you're a fan of like grunt tees, like, grunt style, of course, probably the most popular, or 9-line, I think you will definitely like and appreciate the quality of the fabric of 30 Second Out. So anyway, guys, that pretty much wraps up the end of the first episode, which is technically the second one, but it's really the first one. Thank you once again for listening. I definitely appreciate all of your support on the different directories, and I hope to speak with you soon. And in the meantime, bye.